There are many things wrong with the world nowadays, but there's one thing that I think even in our history we did really well that we've kind of fallen off of and don't do as well anymore. And that's protesting. I know that we see it online, we see people protesting, we see campaigns to help things, and that's all good and all. But the level in which people used to protest to how much they protest now, there's a very stark difference. And I'm going to go into the history, but first, I want to say where the inspiration of this video came from. I was at work today and someone came in and they were buying some things and they asked me directly, do any of these products support Israel? Their family was personally impacted by the Israel Palestine conflict, and although I really try to keep all politics off of this channel as much as I can, I'm pretty generally, if not always, pro children not dying. So whatever keeps children from dying is pretty generally where my ideology lies on that. As far as what specifically is going on between them, I would be far out of my depth to even attempt to try and talk about that. But what I will say, and what is within my depth, is this guy coming in and asking about products and asking if they supported Israel. That protesting or boycotting, whatever you want to say, that was a beautiful moment, although caused by tragedy, was a beautiful moment that inspired something in me to talk here today. So if we go way back, before the United States was even the United States, and it was just a string of colonies, and we had Great Britain on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, during the creation of the colonies, after all that fighting had happened, and protections from the Native Americans and the French for the new colonists, there was a bit of an issue. Great Britain had spent a lot of money to protect all of them because there's such a wide distance between Great Britain and where they actually were. Now, yes, the roots and the beginnings of the United States are pretty messed up, but we're going to kind of look past that for the moment and just talk about the spirit of what had happened, because I think there is something really beautiful in this. So all those people were then here in the United States, New York, Massachusetts, going on as far down as Florida at that time, and they didn't quite know what to do. They were trying to build themselves up, but they were just getting their feet on the ground. They were just figuring things out, and they didn't really have a huge, great way of making money. But the people in Britain, the council, the people who made all the decisions, they decided to start taxing this new place. They had rung up a bill. The colonies needed defense, and they just weren't contributing anything, so they were getting taxed. But here was the issue. They were getting taxed. However, they didn't really have any real representation. Now, representation was nearly impossible, and I'm not going to go into the details of why, but it was nearly impossible. Information just didn't travel quickly enough. So they were getting enforced on certain laws and having to pay taxes to support a government where they had no say in. So all of them, across the board, all decided to avoid these taxes as best they can. Some of them stopped getting married so that they didn't have to pay taxes to the British government. Some of them stopped buying British products completely. They were protesting, they were boycotting, to the point where physical disputes ended up happening. And that's not the moral of the story here. The idea was that all of them banded together as a unified front and a group to push back against something that wasn't fair. They were having to pay taxes but had no representation and had no say in the laws that were being enforced upon them. So they ended up spinning off and creating the country that we live in today, or the country that you know of today if you don't actually live here, if you just know of it on a map. But protesting wasn't born then, but that was a beautiful time in which people banded together and worked together to support or not support certain products. Nowadays, we've got people on both sides, as there always will be, but no one's really banding together per se. There's certain big key players that are taking sides on so many different conflicts and issues, and we kind of just let them. For example, child slavery. people getting killed in other countries that aren't necessarily expecting it, or whatever else is going on. It doesn't matter what your side is. It's not for me to decide, and I'm not going to try to convince you on any side. However, when there's a political issue that you want to support, it's important that we take the time to actually support our side, whether it's through protesting or boycotting or sharing our opinions, not forcing our opinions, but sharing them. I think that's such a beautiful part of what makes human beings so special. It's what's sparked so many great changes in the United States and the world. From abolishing slavery, making sure people are, for the most part, represented correctly. Lots of people are protesting and working on child and sex trafficking. All of these things we're putting genuine effort in. And could you imagine? There's a very small group of people who are actually supporting these things. Could you imagine how much power these groups and these things would have if we all work together to make sure the world is shaped in the way that we know is just, as far as what that means to us? That could be different for you and different for me, but I will never look down on someone protesting or trying to support a cause that they truly believe in. As humans, we are able to protest and push for the ideas that we want, and we have to take the time and make sure to do that. So although I don't want to take a specific stance on anything on this channel, because I want everyone to feel accepted and to come and join the community, what I will say is I hope that my contribution to all of these things is to inspire some of you to start pushing back. It doesn't have to be physically, it doesn't even have to be verbally if you don't feel comfortable, but just showing presence and spending a little time trying to support the people who are on the front lines. And I don't mean necessarily the warriors. I'm talking about supporting yourself or others that are protesting. We all need to work together as best we can, but I think that a little more protesting in the world would be a pretty good thing. I think it would have massive changes. Maybe we could get some of the things that we don't like about this world fixed and back on the right track, like we have so many times before. So many powerful people changed the world, and they started from nothing, just like you and I, who got a group together who believed in what they were doing. We can do it, and I hope this sparks something in you. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on the world or traveling or my stories from the travels that I've had, go ahead and click subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you the next time the algorithm brings me your way. Keep being you.